Hey guys, welcome to Untier Talk. It's just me again. There's no Hajad, couldn't get any guests. So today, instead of looking at all these games in front of us, I'm just going to talk about my favorite Nuzlocke comics. We're going to have a fun time. Oh my god, is that Hajad?
I just appeared out of nowhere.
Dang. Well, I guess my plans are ruined. Also, I bet that's not going to land because your audio's not high enough, which is my fault. I'm turning you up now. That joke probably won't make any sense because like they won't have even heard you cutting in.
Okay, that's fine by me.
Well,
I don't need to be heard.
oh no, I turned you up now. We tried anyway.
Sweet.
Anyway, yeah, it's Untier Talk. We've got more L2PL games. That's really all there is to it, you know. Like you know how it is. Okay, quick summaries, then we'll go into like the games that we actually want to touch. Rexus versus PTF kind of epitomizes that I don't want to go in super in depth into all these because PTF just kind of like chokes the mid game very hard here, and it's just not all that interesting.
Yeah, I think I like PTF's team. His team is cool. His team is less cool, but I mean he has Scarf Rocks Sand Slash, which is also cool. But I mean,
No, Rexus
generally
does.
speaking, I like PTF. Yeah, I know, but yeah, Rex's team has a Scarf Rock Stand Slash, so that's cool. But I mean, PTF, he has a cool team as well. But I mean, he choked the mid game, so it's unfortunate. But I'm sure he'll bounce back.
Mhm. Tasker versus Starmaster, kind of uncharacteristic for Tasker. Kind of got absolutely bodied. He was trying to make double switches, and Star was just hitting buttons and killed things, and Star like just won this game real hard.
Yeah. I feel like Star Master's plays were a bit weird though. Like there were some places where he really needed to switch out because he had his win con in, or like something really pivotal to his win. But I mean, like he just I guess didn't really care about it. He might have had a different plan to what the rest of what I was seeing at least. But yeah, Tusk kind of got slapped.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a wacky ass game. There was Gondra versus Lord ST, which was like a much closer game on paper, but really Gondra kind of felt in control of this game the whole way through. Just like the way he used his Simisear and his Stoutland, like pretty effectively, like shutting LST down for most of this game. I mean, there were a couple of places where LST, like if he just got one cursed body, really could have gotten back into it, but wasn't really quite able to make a lot happen here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like Gondra's team as well. Gondra's team looks really cool and offensive and something that I'd bring, so I appreciate that. LST's team is similar, but I don't know why it just doesn't feel as like solid. I feel like it's the three redundancies, like the Dodrio, Absol, Primate. Like that's no defensive utility there. I feel like it would get like, overloaded quite easily. But yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's a good win for Gondra.
You've got Planet Finch. This was also not a bad game. In fact, I think it's probably better than one of the ones we're going over. A bit of a just kind of weird back and forth. Like, how do you even describe Planet Finch?
Planet Finch is like Drampa comes in, Drampa flicks Draco Meteor, Drampa should get a kill, but then doesn't because misses, and then that's it. So then it could have used his Drampa a little bit better by using it on the Primate a bit more. Not the Primate, sorry, the Sableye.
Yeah, I didn't think Drampa Primate notably could match up.
Yeah, I mean, like, but yeah, I mean, if I feel like because I was one that built this team, I felt like Stanek could have used the Drampa a bit more efficiently. But yeah, apart from that, there was quite a few dodges and misses and other shenanigans that happened.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird one. Draco miss. There was something else. I don't remember. Kushlos versus TJ. TJ just kind of like hit the Ludicolo button, and Kush is not good versus Ludicolo. I don't think either of them played the game amazingly, but a lot of it was down to like TJ's Ludicolo matchup is just holy balls. What do you even do?
Yeah, I mean, Kushalos's team is the same as Gondra's team, minus Stoutland plus Torterra. So, yeah, I mean,
Is it really?
Yeah, that team in general just.
You're right. It is.
By the Ludi.
It threw me off because it's the female Jellicent instead of the male Jellicent.
True.
That just kind of confused me. And then last for games we're not going to go over, Specs versus Ham. This was just kind of like a weak mid game from Specs. Like a fairly even matchup that ended up snowballing for Ham quite quickly later in the game, as Specs like needed to manage the threats of the Girder and the Kangaskhan, just wasn't really able to pull it off, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the difference in this game is that Ham brought threats. Like every single one on that team is a threat, and Specs brought a lot of redundancy. So like Hitmonchan and like Spiritomb, they're not really things really scary going forward, and like Cryogonal is not gonna do the world of damage. Like he really needed Cryo to have like a really good matchup here, given that Ham didn't have a nice resist. But I mean, it's Cryo, so it's basically free Volt fodder for the eel at that point. So
yeah. I did not do enough as Specs' teammate, I think, to go over this. I was just like, yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. And like I said, I don't really hate the matchup or anything, but it definitely could have been a bit stronger here. So the two games we're going to go over are Meru versus Lockjaw, and then myself versus Ziri. I didn't actually judge this one. I think this one's probably less interesting than the Tlenet Finch, but Jad was like, no, this is the best game, so fuck it. I'm just defending myself from cries of corruption in Untier talk. But Meru versus Lockjaw first. Oh, wait, isn't Meru on your team?
Yeah, Meru's on my team.
Oh my god, Chad, you chose the two games that were... Okay. It doesn't matter. It's fine. We can do what we want because it's our podcast that we don't even have to be doing. Like, someone was mad. Like, why aren't you guys going over all the games? Like,
maybe
we don't want to. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Maybe we should. Here's just this was like a quick thought right now. Maybe we should do like a poll on which games people want to see in like the PU Discord on like the Monday, and then we could do the best two or the most two highly requested two.
I would not mind. I would not mind taking viewer input on that. That would actually be totally fine for me. But like, telling us to do more games, fuck off. And thanks for listening, but also fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why, the thing is, like, if we were to do every single game, like, it would just be it'd be dragged on. And also, this tour isn't as serious as, like, Exhibition was, or,
Snake. This is more serious. This is more serious than Exhibition. It's less serious than Snake.
I wouldn't say so. I'd say this tour has been taken like a lot less seriously by like all the managers and stuff. But I mean,
maybe like taken less seriously, but overall, Exhibition is like, sillier tiers compared to like UURU. It's anyway. Let's just get into the game. You gave Meru a normal spam plus electric spam team, but although I'm assuming Pom Pom doesn't actually have an electric move, but like it's normal spam with the eel pivot, and then like the toxic Pom Pom plus Ferroseed plus Jellicent to just like annoy the Regirocks and the Mudsdales that are going to annoy the normal spam. Like I like the structure. It's a very straightforward team. It's like, here's exactly what I want to do. You know what buttons I'm going to click. It's just normal type time, baby. That's kind of the way I interpret it. And it was really funny that you guys ended up running into fighting spam of all things, which the matchup's not terrible for. Like, you still have the Pom Pom and the Jellicent, but I don't think this is what you wanted to face.
Yeah, for one, I completely disagree with Lockjaw's prep. Like, I don't think you should go into a game versus somebody who's, like, I guess, renowned for Sableye. Like, I would unironically pass any of my players, like, a Sableye team. Like, that's something that I would do more, and that's more likely than anybody else in the entire tour. So I wouldn't bring Fighting Spam plus Future Sight versus somebody that's capable of doing that. You know what I mean? Like, because if Meru brought Kangas Spikes with a Sableye, it was just over. Like,
100%.
There was no way he was breaking through that.
Sableye is massively bad for Lockjaw's team. It's also like Spike's weak with just Cryo as the spinner. I'm pretty sure it's not Defog Cryo. I'm pretty sure it's Spun. So like,
it's pretty, it should be Spin at least because of the
because he has his own spikes, but like he's weaker to spikes than most teams will be weak to spikes. He's really bothered by them between the Chan and the Girder and the Masharna and the Pharisee and the Lantern. Like, holy hell. I agree that his prep is just really weird. But at the same time, because of what Meru brought, it still works anyway. So it's not like he's at a massive disadvantage from preview.
That's the one thing. Like, it was the wrong prep in quotation marks, but he still has the matchup. Like, I would definitely lean.
Yeah, and in that sense, maybe it's not wrong. Maybe he just made the really hard call. Like, I don't agree, but it worked. So, like, who are we to, say that was wrong? You ended up with a good matchup, idiot.
Yeah, I mean, that is literally what happened. So, like, I can sit here and disagree and say, well, what if we brought Sableye? But I mean, like, maybe you just said, well, you're not bringing Sableye. Did you bring Sableye?
You didn't bring Sableye. You did not, in fact, do that. You brought a Jellicent.
Maybe I'll bring Sableye next time.
Okay. But yeah, aside from that, I don't hate the concept of fighting spam plus Masharna. That's pretty nice. Future Sight is just generally a really fun gimmick. I like NU has Slowking and it gets the Future Sight and have eject button and have regen. Kind of wish we had something like that. That seems like it'd be really fun, but something weaker than Slowking.
Broken.
Like not as fat and strong as Slowking. Like if we had if LGM got
Slowpoke.
Or yeah, like a Slowpoke, but maybe a little fatter. Okay. Anyway, let's actually start the game because I'm just going off at this point. Things are not going too well. I do like how Lockjaw just immediately does the Future Sight thing and just takes out the Pom-Pom by turn 3. Like he starts out pretty nice here, like losing rocks and some Hitmonchan shit for just already the Pom-Pom's dead. I agree with, it was definitely the thing that Meru had to sack. It wasn't super useful.
Really? I think, because the play, in my opinion, Meru's play was to just... we were talking about the game afterwards, and we were saying you should have just stayed in with the Pharisee, because it's max defense.
Oh.
It's not really doing much in terms of walling. So...
yeah, I forgot it was taunt. I forgot it was the toxic set. I thought it was Calm Mind stuff that just wouldn't have been that useful. No, yeah. Yeah, Pharisee was probably less useful then, just given its fighting spam.
Well, yeah, because fighting spam, you need as many fighting resists as you can, and if you sack the Pom-Pom, you basically don't really have a Girder check anymore. So it was really important to keep that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was very silly on my part.
Yes.
Honestly, even with it not being toxic, it was probably still more useful. But yeah, okay, so Lockjaw just eliminates one of Meru's 2 fighting resists turn 3. That's not fun. Let me get my head on straight. But it's certainly far from over. I do find it interesting that Meru pivoted the Eel into the Girder on the knock and then went hard Jellicent. Like, it was already revealed to be U-turn Eel. Not super threatening. I don't know why Lockjaw Drain Punched into the Jellicent. Frankly, I would have knocked again and just punished Meru for this really, silly play. I honestly have no idea why that happened. And you're losing your AV when you want to be checking the cryo. I don't... That makes no sense to me, but sure.
I think the plan from Meru in that perspective was, to check, I guess the Girder will think if the Eel comes in that it's going to knock him off. So if that's the case, he wants to deal as much damage to the Eel as possible. So the most efficient way, I guess, would just be to click knock off, and then as soon as the Eel comes in, the likelihood is that it's going to click knock off or discharge or thunderbolt or whatever the move is, right? So
I guess I just don't really think this pivot was overall great from Meru, but it could have gotten punished a lot harder. It's not super important. It's also Water Spout Jellicent. I totally forgot this talking about a team preview. So yeah, he needed that puts in a lot more context because obviously it's Timid Scarf Jellicent, right? It doesn't want to be coming in on knockoffs. It's not really a fighting resist either. Nope. A lot more reason to keep the Pom-Pom. I'm sorry guys, that kind of invalidates a lot of the shit I've been saying. I totally forgot. How? Okay. Timid Scarf Jellicent clicks Water Spout. It looks pretty bad for Meru by turn 8. Turn 9 really, like Lockjaw just kills the eel too. It's already like pretty grim, but things are gonna work out for some reason.
Yeah. I feel like Lockjaw, when he got into this position, which turn are you on?
I am on turn 13 right now, where he's vaulting out of the Kangaskhan.
Right. At this exact moment, right, there is no way Lockjaw should lose this game, okay? And I feel like that came into his head a little bit right here, right? So when you're in this position where you're 6-4 up, just generally, like, the Gerda's basically dead, but I mean, you're 6-4 up, you have an extra sack versus, like, a fighting spam team. The fighting resist doesn't really exist at this point, like the Hitmonchan resist. So, like, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. It's about, like, I guess, odds mitigation and, like, making sure that your whipping con is clearly defined and you make the correct plays. But I felt like at this point is when we start to see Lockjaw sort of, like, get into his own head a little bit, because when you're in this advantageous position, you start to play extremely safe and extremely predictable. Rather than efficient. So that might explain why Lockjaw made a few of the plays that he did come towards the mid game.
I do agree with that, but also for what it's worth, like, Lockjaw should not have lost his game last week versus me, his seasonal game 1 versus me, for losers finals of seasonal. That was also another one. Like, maybe he was getting into his head, but honestly, he has had not good last couple of weeks of tournaments. Like,
yeah, I mean, he got smoked by me as well. So that's
yeah,
like,
he is. Like, maybe he's feeling down. Maybe he's just not that good. I don't want to just say, like, you know, there are a lot of things I wouldn't just say like it got into his head, because this has kind of become a little bit of a pattern. But I think it's also really interesting to analyze where things go wrong for him. So first he tries to double in his girder on the Ferroseed switch. That doesn't work, but like I respect that, because Meru staying into Earthquake was a bit of an odd play. But whatever, not the biggest problem. This though I don't love. Meru gets into a Ferroseed war with Lockjaw, and Lockjaw just agrees to like both let them set 3 spikes. And I don't think this benefits Lockjaw. Like, when you're ahead, you don't want to give the other person anything, and the spikes are clearly going to do like more damage to Lockjaw's team than Meru's team, because Lockjaw is like fatter and trying to pivot in defensively more with things like Ferroseed and Masharna. I think just like as soon as Meru's Ferroseed came in, just go hard, Hitmonchan. Just the whole Ferroseed board doesn't help.
To me, at least, I agreed. If I was looking at it from Lockjaw's perspective, I agreed with him in terms of the spike war, because the big difference between his and Meru's team at this point is that Meru's team doesn't have his hazard control. The defog was on the pom-pom, and that died turn 3, obviously. So when Lockjaw either has his rapid spin on the cryo or on the Hitmonchan, probably cryo because it's fighting spam, right? So I agree with him up until the point where he decides to basically sack cryo straight up to the Ferroseed. In my personal taste, I think he could have done a better job of bringing in the Hitmonchan and then throwing the Ferroseed out. But I feel like Ferroseed was a sort of a big threat to him, and that's probably why he should have pivoted out earlier, as you said. Like, Ferroseed, he didn't really have like a good way of killing it, if that makes sense. Like, you don't want to be taking on Ferroseed on its physical side, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So like Hitmonchan isn't like the most intimidating powerhouse of a Pokemon that like abuses Ferroseed. You know what I mean? No,
but like he's really only giving Meru the opportunity to like he needs to get a perfect play between the Ferroseed and the Jellicent, and I guess there is some risk there, and I get that Lockjaw has the removal, but I think ultimately this ends up going against him, which we'll see in a sec. Yeah. After they're done, done leech seeding each other, we'll see what actually
Yeah. Just quickly before we move on, like if you think about it, Lockjaw's play also to harden the cryo as well is like that's super risky because if Meru just clicks Jarable one of these turns and like manages to catch Lockjaw on the switch like perfectly, Lockjaw is in suddenly from like a hugely advantageous position. Like
it could have been a real issue.
Yeah.
But it kind of works out for him. So he hard pivots in the cryo as Mary goes for spikes, and he gets to spin the stuff off and sack his cryo. And like overall, this is still okay. You don't have the Mon advantage, but you're still in a bit of a better position, just because Hitmonchan and Ferroseed both real good for you.
You should be winning this game still. Like Lockjaw is in by no means a losing position after losing cryo. Because his hazards are off, Meru has full hazards on, and he has the Hitmonchan forcing, like, getting a kill every time, basically.
So Meru's going to sack the Ferroseed and go hard into the Kangaskhan, and obviously Lockjaw doesn't want to take the fake out. You can just sack Lantern. This is pretty safe overall and gets the Mach Punch right, and things are still going his way. This isn't really where the troubles pop up. Then he sacks Hitmonchan to the Hydro Pump.
Yeah.
I
think. Yeah. Okay. So
I get why. I understand why, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So my diagnosis of this is, basically Lockjaw at this point didn't want to, or didn't feel like the Jellicent was a Scarf set. I'm sure his idea must have been that it was like a Waterium Z set, or basically something that wasn't Scarf, because he was sort of liberally sacking his defensive Water Spout resist, basically. Like he sacked the Cryo, he sacked the Lantern early in the game. Ferroseed he just sort of threw out as well. So it's like,
well, if he thought Jellicent wasn't Scarf, that's like a better that makes Hitmonchan look even better. What I'm thinking is he was just like, okay, Hitmonchan, slower than the Jellicent, dies the Stoutland, like he can get off the Mach Punch, but dies the Stoutland, probably less useful. So my plan is just to play defensive, go Ferroseed, Leech. I can go Jellicent on the Stoutland superpower and try to win that way. And like, I get that idea for the approach, but I think knowing that this Jellicent is like a timid, weaker set, I honestly think you still just like take the risk, hard pivot into Ferroseed, take the chip from Hydro Pump, just get off your Leech, and try to go from there. And simply by having more sacks, having like the Hitmonchan still being this offensive threat, I feel like that would have gone better. Because instead what happens is, like obviously he goes Ferroseed, he hits the Leech, but then he doesn't pivot out. He tries to make the play predicting, no, you're going to return, expecting my Misharna to come in. It's like a bit of a 50-50, quote unquote, but I definitely think at this point going Misharna had to be the play. And instead he sacks Ferroseed, and that loses him the game. And like, because of the way he lost, where it didn't matter that Ferroseed had that extra help from not pivoting in on Hydro Pump, I think it's extra important that like you don't sack the Hitmonchan. Because if Hitmonchan's still around, if Stoutland commits the superpower, then like you can actually abuse it so much better.
Yeah. I agree.
And that was just like really what he needed to do to lose, to be completely honest. And he tries to future sight and spam Moonlight, and it still comes close. Like at the end here, Misharna is at 53%, and Stoutland will die to the next attack, but Stoutland's frustration is able to KO the Misharna. So, like, maybe he had a chance. I don't actually know the calc. I'm going to check now, but do you have anything more you wanted to say on that?
I just sort of think that especially towards that end game, where it was, it was Spikes Wars and spins and Hitmonchans and sacks and stuff like that, I felt like he played too turn by turn. I feel like generally he could have had a more coherent plan going into that late game. Like I would have spent a turn or two just thinking like, okay, how do I put basically put Mirror in a headlock and like not let him go, so that I can win this game. But what I think ended up happening is like I have a big lead, therefore I can't lose, so I'm just going to play turn by turn, and then that came to like bite him in the ass basically.
I agree. It was really passive, kind of safe play. On the roll, quote unquote, if the Masharna was max bold, then 53% is the absolute max damage Stellan can do. But more likely with the Future Sight set, it's just max HP and then offensive, without much defense investment. And in that case, this wouldn't have been a roll, and it would have just like been in Meru's favor, or like by like 90%, or even just like 100% chance to kill here. So not really a roll, most likely.
Is that Adamant Stoutland or Jolly?
Oh, that might have been. That was actually Adamant Stoutland. So
yeah,
if it was just max HP Masharna, which is what you would expect for something like this, then Stoutland.
That's what the roll suggests, at least.
Yeah, then Stoutland with a jolly nature, I believe, should still have been in its favor to just OHKO, like 100%. Let me check. Bashful Stoutland versus Masharna with 252 HP and no defense investment. Doing the calcs live here, folks. Returned as 58 to 68, and it did 53 here. So even if Masharna was like 100 defense or something, it's not happening. He would have needed to be like a max defense, standard combine spread to have much of a shot.
If I was really bothered, like you'd go and count how much the Future Sight did to the pom pom, and then you'd be like, okay, this is how much specialty tag he probably has, and then like.
No, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
It's not a big deal, and like the more interesting thing here, I think, is just analyzing like where the misplays went down. Because like the fact that Lockjaw misplay doesn't mean that the game isn't still really interesting, in my opinion, because it's the way that he like had such a strong advantage by turn, I think 13. Turn 13 was what we're looking at, and really just like you said, didn't go in, put him in a headlock, and make sure he had no chance to win, but kind of let Meru slowly creep back in to take the pretty close victory.
I just wanted also to add that like Meru did a bit, like at least from my perspective as like a manager, I was really happy with Meru's like performance, because he shouldn't have had a chance really, but he sort of like he played in a way which was sort of difficult to put in that headlock. So I was quite happy that he played efficiently, and he kept himself with a chance, and that was the big thing. A lot of players probably would have given up, so I appreciate that a lot from a player.
I agree for sure. You don't want to give up. Okay, other game is going to be me versus Ziri. Oh, because it's me, I'm going to swap sides on this game, because that's what I'm used to. You might be able to tell from my team, but I'm pretty confident that Ziri's going to bring Bronzor when I'm prepping. Ziri's been using a lot of Bronzor. People in general have just been using a lot more Bronzor, obviously, because Torterra, that big threat, though. And this team is really just... loses to Bronzor, 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 and Pursuit traps the fuck out of it. That really is just... It's the team was titled in my team builder, "Stop using Bronzor, please." And hey, guess what? He brought it. I'm happy. So it really is as simple as I've got a Banded Absol to trap it, and then after that, my Rock Polished Torterra is going to go ham. I've got Healing Wish support for it as well. That's my game plan. It's pretty basic, but I like where it's looking from the preview.
You say that about Torterra though, but like Ziri has really brought the stops like to Torterra. Like he's brought the Simisage. Okay, given Simisage is not the greatest Torterra check, but it resists both the stabs, and then he also brought the pom pom as well, which is another like common Torterra check.
Yeah, it's not free. It's not free, and my Torterra is not Stone Edge, so that's unfortunate for it.
I feel like immediately though, like what I would see is as soon as you trap the Bronzor, Vicky and more so Mr. Mime just start to go in. Like a well played Mr. Mime could really be like 6 or 7, or like I'd probably say 7 or 8 Pokemon.
Yeah, that's the thing.
7 or 8 Pokemon.
Mime doesn't really OHKO anything, but it takes very minimal chip damage once the Bronzor is gone, which is funny because I was thinking of Mime in much more of a defensive standpoint with like the Healing Wish support, the Drampa check, that kind of thing. But offensively, yeah, it's arguably my best Mon after I trap the Bronzor. But Ziri for his part still has some fun tricks. The ramp is going to be pretty scary. Kind of depends on what it is. AV can potentially like trap my Mime, trap my Cryo, and then offensive ramp is just going to be able to like blow through Regirock without too much difficulty. Semi-Sage can also be pretty scary and be almost anything. And then Smash Omastar, even if it's timid, is slower than Scarf Mime, but it does mean, again, I was very afraid of, like, what if it's Pursuit Ramp plus Smash Omastar? That would kind of give me a bad time. Overall, though, I really do like my matchup to the degree where, like I said, I didn't necessarily think it was the best game just because I did feel a solid advantage from team preview that, like, I very much can kind of just do my basic game plan of trap and then hit buttons, which is a fun game plan.
I feel like, I think also when you think about it like that, like it comes into like perspective, like how strategy dependent like Pokemon in general is. Like you can go into this game and like not have a lot of teams. They don't have a clear and coherent game plan. It's like this team. But I feel like that's why this team works and some other teams don't work. Is that this has a plan? Like, right, if you bring Bronzor, I'll have this thing to trap it, and I'll have 5 things to abuse the void, as we like to call it.
The void, as we like to call it. That's what a British thing. No one else says void.
I think. Well, no. Well, I thought that I coined it the last couple of Untier talks. I think I said the void. I think that's what I'm going to call it from now on. But yeah, 5 things that abuse the void, and then if you don't bring Bronzor, then I have immediate matchup with like 5 of these mons. Mm-hmm. Right, these mons are immediately better because of that. So I generally think that this team was quite well built from your perspective.
Well, I think
because like it doesn't really have any weaknesses aside from like.
I don't agree with that. Floatzel is a big one that I just really did not want to face. Kind of just hits buttons for free, and like I can't switch into Banded Liquidation whatsoever.
I don't think you need to switch into Floatzel, to be honest. Like your team, like
okay, it doesn't let Floatzel in, but like the flip side of that is you have to be good at pressuring it, and I'm just not. Like it won't switch in, but every time it comes in, I'm gonna have a hard time getting it out. Combuskin is something I didn't want to face. Scarf Mime on its own is like the only check, and that's just not great for Combuskin. Like there are some random things. I felt prepped for meta, and I felt prepped for the kind of weird things that Ziri brings, because Ziri, and especially with like his Telenet support, often brought some wacky stuff, and you can see here like Simisade Rampardos is a pretty interesting core, and while I think his team does have a pretty good game plan, it's not bad at getting ramp in at all. I do think I was just more on the prepared side for him. This is like I don't typically feel I'm that good at prep. Like versus Lockjaw, I did not think my prep was that good at all last week. This week I felt fucking locked down. Like stat.
Yeah, I rate personally like the more coherent game teams. Like I feel like especially in this meta in PU, where it's so momentum heavy, right? Not having a coherent game plan or like a way where like this is what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be your responsibility now to stop me, right? A lot of teams they're sort of dependent on like I'm gonna try and stop your game plan, but I don't really have one on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I would. If you've seen Finch's team, that's what I would liken to a team that didn't really have a game plan. Like it was just a really fat balanced team with a Dramper, a Leafeon, and like a Primate. And it sort of screams to me like I have a defensive core. I'm gonna try and stop you, but if I can't stop you, I'll bring in my Dramper, and then hopefully Primate or
hopefully I'll be able to wall break and things are going to work out because Dramp is strong. Sword Dance Synthesis Leafeon, not as he Celebrate, that's a pretty strong wall breaker, and then hopefully eventually I'll win. Yeah, I get that. I don't think that means all teams like that don't work, because sometimes you're just like either your prep is really on point or you really just have hit a good point in the meta. But yeah, I feel the game plan type thing. So starting the game off, I'm gonna trap him really early. Like I think Pom Pom U turns and I set rocks, and I think I just like immediately trap him, which is fair enough for him. That didn't really want to like double out or like try to avoid it because it really is hard to avoid, and he still does keep his Bronzor. I'm Jolly Absol, so it only does 73, which means it's not 100% out of the game yet. But yeah, like there's not a lot you can do to outplay that, especially when I have rocks up so early that the more you try to pivot around with your Bronzor, the more chip damage you're taking. That's a big problem.
Yep.
Like, yep.
I mean,
Nope. Um,
yeah. But yeah, I feel like turn 8, especially when the Bronzor, basically, when you trap the Bronzor, like, there's...
We're almost there. He's going to pivot around me a little bit. I'm kind of just letting my stuff get chipped because I don't feel like I have a great alternative. But yeah, okay, turn 8. He does try to get the Bronzor in, but fortunately it's 2-hit KO'd by Drain Punch, so that's not really a problem.
Yeah, I feel like if you look at your team at that point, like there was no way he was going to get the Bronzor in without basically dying. So the only scenario where it doesn't die is if Mr. Mime is choice locked into Psychic, and then he gets the rest off. But you still have the Absol at that point.
Yeah, or if he fodders something to Regirock to then get it in, and really it comes down to, well, I'm not going to let my Absol die until the Bronzor is gone, and I know, like, okay, it's not a problem. Like, that was very much... There was no chance I was letting my Absol die. Like, I rather pivot my Victory Bell into the Silvally U-turn and just take all this chip damage than lose my Absol, because I absolutely need the Bronzor gone. It's kind of a duality thing. I want to abuse Bronzor, but if I fail at that, I'm kind of fucked.
Yeah, I mean, if Bronzor rests as well, he'll basically be forced to switch out immediately because of the Absol prayer. So, like, you don't even need to go pursuit in the event that he rests up with Bronzor. You can just click knock off and then get loads of damage on the Silvally Fairy if that was what your plan was. But I mean, it'd just be better to just pursuit trap it. I mean, he thought that through probably and just was like, yeah, there's no point trying to play those mind games. I'm just going to sack it at 10-8. There's no real point.
Mm-hmm. And he is able to like get his Omstar in and get a kill off of that as I'm just kind of letting my Victory Bell go down. It's not that it's worthless, but like I have so many things that are able to wall break. I don't need another one. So that's nice, you know. And I'm also gonna sack Absol here, not entirely sack, but like I know he's U-turning, and I don't want to let him abuse my Regirock more and get offensive pressure. And this is kind of what you were talking about earlier. I want to keep him in a vice and give him no chances. And if I just like go back to Regirock and keep playing fat and let him pivot on all my stuff, I felt like that was a worse option than just, you can have my Absol, but I'll take all the momentum back. So I'm just going to kind of like switch that in, try to knock off, but Sucker ended up like would have been the better play, I guess.
Yeah. Did you have Sucker in the end, or was it like...
No, it was it was triple dark plus superpower. That's definitely my my preferred set. Like, what else? Play rough, I guess. I don't like play rough.
Yeah, play rough for Iron Tail.
Oh yeah, Iron Tail. No, I'm not ballsy enough to hit a 75% accurate move that you need to predict the switch in to like for it to be good. That's way too scary for me. Hello, I barely want to use Fire Blast. Oh man. But yeah, I get my Mr. Mime in, and it's like, hey, weak-ass Scarf Mime is actually really good right here, so fuck it. He also, at this point, I had really thought it was Scarf Pom Pom, and I knocked off with Absol, expecting, like, I don't know, maybe a Roost if it's not, maybe even a Defog. The Pom Pom ends up not being Scarf, even though it was just you turning around earlier, and that really kind of threw me off. And it'll end up being Scarf Semi-Sage, but I don't know that at this point. I just suspect, like, maybe it's Scarf Semi-Sage. But yeah, I was a little off at that, and then I was a little bit scared he was going to be the Pursuit ramp here, and I kind of just hard out. But fortunately, it's not. And he also got two like really really low rolls with Rock Slide for his Rampardos versus this Regirock here, and that's kind of what let me like what forced him out there instead of just letting him kill me. I think I still would have been fine if Regirock had died. Like I was kind of prepared for him to maybe just superpower me and kill me at that point, or even Earthquake and not drop his stats. I would have been fine with that. But that's one small thing to point out where like that could have definitely changed the game a lot had he gotten just a bit better on the rolls there.
Yeah, I feel like also when it comes down to it, like the end game, like when we'll get to that, like you had so many options with regards to how to win the game. Like even if you got one extra piece of set order, right, you still had a couple of win cons that were still like super good looking. So I wouldn't have worried too much, even if you got the higher rolls.
Not high rolls, just like average rolls really should have let him 3-kill me. And at that point, I would have just been more aggressively like immediately kind of go cryo and then go mime and have the RP Torterra in the back. But instead, we end up in this situation where he goes Semi-Sage. He tries to double out, and I'm basically like calling that he probably wants to double because he's feeling a little pressured, and I really thought he was going to go not necessarily back to ramp, but possibly into the Omastar. And even if he doesn't, if that Semi-Sage Leaf Storms, I'm just rock polishing. Like I'm just going to do it. You can't hurt me after that. And that works out really well for me as he gets the ramp double switch completely incorrect and just dies. So that's nice. And at this point, like his only real threat is maybe to try to do something with Omastar. But he can't. Like he needs multiple smashes to outspeed the mime, and I'm just gonna toxic, and now if he smashes again, he'll get drain punched. And at this point the game is pretty much just a free cleanup, really. Like I don't know what he could possibly pull out at this point to somehow take the game. I guess I could have I could have stayed in on the Scarf Semi-Sage, but I really go, okay, just in case your Scarf Semi-Sage, I'm gonna sack Cryo here. It's the safer play. And he does end up being Scarf Semi-Sage instead, which I just really didn't. That's just kind of weird. Like I don't know about Scarf Semi-Sage. Like I guess it's not an awful Torterra check, but HP Ice doesn't even OHKO Torterra, so it's a bit of an awkward Pokemon to use, really. And yeah, Torterra just ends up cleaning, and that's the game.
Yeah, it's a good game.
I don't know. I felt like my game plan was never super challenged here. That's why there wasn't a ton for Zeri to do. It's a very, I don't know, I guess different thing from Meru Lockjaw, where Lockjaw got his stuff early on, and then after that it really started not going his way.
Yeah, I feel like the difference is that Lockjaw probably had the same plan as you, essentially. Like, okay, I'm going to Future Sight, and then I'm going to use my Vitamons, and then he's going to lose. You had the same sort of idea where it's like, I'm going to Pursuit Trap the Bronzor, I'm going to use my non-Bronzor things, and then I'm going to win, right?
Yeah.
But the difference is that you performed your with much more like emphasis on the end game and the win conditions, rather than Lockjaw, who was sort of like micro choking and letting Meru back in the game. So it's like interesting on those two games.
Yeah, I think it's important to notice, like, in my team chat, my teammates, when I sacked Absol, in, like, a private chat I was hidden from during the game, I looked back after, we're like, oh, why is the Absol dead? Are we choking? And I think that's a good, not especially amazing play, not like a just, holy shit, how do you even think of that? But just a solid, like, hey, don't feel bad to maybe sack things and stop momentum. There's a lot worse things I could have done than sacking the Absol. I think I think it's definitely better than like going Regirock and just acceding to more U-turn spam pressure. Like just
this is something.
Get yourself out of those situations before they snowball.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that you bring that up about like sacking things that you might not expect to be seeing sacked, but then like people thinking that you're choking, but the reality is that you're not really choking. The thing is that like a lot of people, they get scared to sack things And what they end up doing is they take more damage on things that are more important because they decided not to sack something. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and I mean, if I lost, it would have been a choke, but I didn't, so it wasn't.
Yeah, no, but you weren't even in like any threat of losing those. So that's like you can't really claim that was a choke unless something crazy happened in that late game, right? Like Zero reveals the sub nasty bot, sub like HPI, Giga Drain, Simi Sage, right? That's the only way that I could have seen.
Yeah, Gluttony. It would need to be Gluttony Salicberry to like activate early and then like break my stuff.
Hidden Power Ice, Giga Drain, basically some whack ass mini Lilligant shit, basically, which they don't do. So,
that doesn't even sound that bad though. Like Jad's Gimmick Corner, real talk, just like Gluttony Salicberry on the Simmies to like early just surprisingly have that speed boost and like go wall breaker mode while they're like, oh wait, I can't revenge it with my Scarf Primeape now. That doesn't even sound that bad though.
I mean, potentially, but I think that the thing is with Nasty Plot on the Simmies is that you're going to want to like set up your Nasty Plot just to like break through something and then maybe switch out again. But
like, what if you didn't need to switch out again because they've got a Scarf Primeape and you just Gluttony Saliced?
Potentially. I mean, the more likely position that I'd see is that you're probably going to get forced out by priority. Like, you're going to get chipped by whatever.
Yeah,
the stack is going to activate.
I'm sure it's not like amazing, but it doesn't. Like, not every team is going to have the perfect priority to force something out like this. Like, even just going back through Snake games, Lockjaw and Meru are kind of locked down, but like Ham's just got like a weak Mach Punch. Kush doesn't really have. Finch doesn't really have. Planet doesn't really have. Oh man, I wish I didn't do this live on recording so that people know I'm thinking about this. Yeah, like what are these teams gonna do? That really doesn't seem that bad. Oops, that's low tier Premier League. Okay.
But yeah.
Any last things that we should talk about? Because I think we're gonna wrap up. Oh, we're the grand finals of seasonal. That's cool. We'll probably like do something about seasonal on Untier Talk now, since like we're literally the two people in grand finals. That's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not gonna do it live because like we couldn't both be talking live. That wouldn't really work.
I'd love to do it live. I would absolutely love to like just talk to you in chat and be like, hi, and then like we just almost do it like a
we can't do real commentary, so it'd just be like I'm gonna fuck you up now, bitch.
Yeah, I mean that would be cool if we like recorded both of our perspectives and then was like we'll see what they were thinking as a. But I mean like it's probably not worth it. But I mean it's ghosting politics and all that type of stuff, so you don't want to get too tangled with that as well.
Mm-hmm. What else? Swish is still coming along. There's nothing really P related. Yeah, I think news wise it's about it. And we actually kept this one a bit shorter. I'm so happy. It's still like 50 minutes, a bit less, but that's totally fine.
Gimmick corner.
Oh, that wasn't the Simmies? Okay. You got a gimmick corner? Go for it.
Yeah, I do have something. I have protective pads Absol. SD protective pads. Because Absol needs protection.
Does protective pads protect you from Skuntank Aftermath?
Yeah, it does.
It does?
Rocky Helmet, Aftermath, and all that stuff.
Oh my god, just Skuntank comes in, you're just super powered anyway? That does seem pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, like the massive cuck scenario that I was thinking of in my head was like, somebody's like, okay, I'm going to get some chip damage off on the Absol, and then I'm going to kill it with the aftermath of my Skuntank, and then Absol just swords dances and kills the Skuntank, and he's like, oh shit, this is not 100%. What do we do now? I think you just sweep with Sucker Punch.
That seems funny. Maybe in like earlier metas where we actually had a lot of Skuntank usage, but okay, I can see that as like a haha get wrecked.
Yeah, it's not even like just Skuntank usage though. Like if you think about it, there's so many things that run Helmet in this meta, like or like in Ferroseed's case, that's a common Absol like fodder thing to get chip on it, I guess. Like there's so many things that just do chip via physical damage. So in Absol's like in Absol's case as well, like what are you going to be using over protected pads? Like you're going to either be using a Z move, which is like that's an important spend. In this meta, there's so many things that can be a Z move user. Like you don't generally want to be using Z move on something that isn't
and then
entirely optimal for.
there's not a lot else for
Or
SD to run. I've run into that issue where I didn't want to give my SD Absol a Z move, but Life
or
Orb
Life Orb.
chips it too fast, and then like there's not a lot of the great. So like, what do you want to run? Dread Plate or like I don't know,
Exactly.
Tanga Berry, so you can live a U-turn. That's bug resist. I'm pretty sure Tanga Berry.
Pinchberry.
Pinchberry, like nah, that none of that sounds great. So like I've heard worse pitches. All right, I think that about wraps it up for us.
Make sure you wear protection kits.
Yeah, and with that, we'll see y'all next week.